We should have sound. We should have liftoff. Welcome to Dojo Earth Radio. It's time for Saturday Night Ride. Everyone get buckled in, find a seat. Open seating tonight. Till we're out in the green room. Welcome to Saturday Night Ride. Great to have you. Seconds. We're going to be talking about some ancient America tonight. Welcome, everyone. Take your seats. Saturday Night Ride on Dojo Earth Radio. Dojo Earth is filmed in front of a live studio audience.
One of us gets to see the sunrise and one of us gets to see the sunset. Is that accurate?
If you're tall enough. You guys, we are live. Welcome to the airship. You guys, you're hot now, just so you know.
Oh, we are. Hello, everyone.
Yeah. Hello, Renee. Great to have you.
You're flying. I love our ride tonight, James. This is just so cozy.
Yeah.
The cushions and the dials.
Oh, it's great to have you. It's great to have you. And so thank you, Renee. Thank you so much for being here. And Brad, I hear you two over there. What you got going on, buddy?
Man, I was down here tinkering with the engine a little bit. I was trying to get a little more RPMs, but then I decided, you know what? I'm going to pull it back to cruising altitude. We don't need the speed,
I like this idea. Yeah, steady. The dilithium crystals don't need to be so dilithiated, It's, what's the big deal? Right? Yeah, it's cozy time.
Relax.
It's cozy time. And what a better way to feel cozy than having Deb on board. Deb, welcome tonight.
Oh, thank you.
Right on. I trust all is well. We have a journey set in the GPS here for ancient cultures of America, but we could go anywhere tonight. There's all kinds of different, different places that we could journey to. But the windows are clear. There's green plasma outside your starboard bow. And I am happily willing to steer this sucker wherever it goes. I've been really enamored lately listening to the story of Soto and picturing a 14-year-old boy with a musket and a horse running through the forest of Peru in the Incan Empire and just freaking getting gold and shoving his pants full of it. And he's 14 years old. And he's commanding all these people. And you're just like, what the fuck was happening then? And you think about 1492. This is probably the best way to really picture this. Is you got 1492. You've got this concept of Columbus sailing the ocean blue. And just 10 years later, just 10 short years later, the Aztec solar disk that all of us know is carved. Like it's actually carved in those 10 years. And it's commemorated because 10 years later, on a totally different timeline, in a totally different zone, in a totally different populational mindset, you have the two reeds, the forming of two reeds. This is the ancient Aztec two towers. You could not get more Masonic. I want you to hear the pun here. I'm going to say it again. This is Masonic. Okay, thank you. I appreciate that. and so this is truly pretty stunning, right? Because two reed marks this most famous Montezuma. It was a tribute to him. This solar disk, and at the very top of that is this two reeds, is the two towers, and my mind just blows to think about this.
It's too punny is what it is. You know what's funny to me is how often the two towers come up in retrospect. When you start seeing two towers, you see two towers everywhere.
Yes, I noticed that also.
Yeah. Yeah, that's why I say these symbols aren't quite what we first think they are. They weren't made in a lab, and it's this rare thing, and then they had to be inserted into the psyche. They're everywhere.
Yeah,
They're
think so.
literally everywhere. Yeah, deeper than you even think. Everywhere. So yeah.
Now, is that interesting
is
symbology? Not to get right off the bat off track, but was that, because I haven't thought of it in that regard, but that symbolically bringing two towers down was like a symbolic nod, if you will,
I think so, yeah.
Well, I don't think that the two reed, like this is, by the way, in favor of your point, but I'm saying that I don't think that the two reed has any connotation to the fact that personally on Templo Mayor, they literally had two towers. Like it was a tower with two towers on top. And so you had that two towers. And the fact that you had that two towers and then two reed comes along, and this is when we quote, quote, discover America, then yeah, I think it's impossible not to see this world in more of a mythological timeline versus a physical, real, historic, causal timeline. I think it's more of a blur.
Much better.
Yeah, it's blurring back because you've got to put the history in the compartment somewhere. Everything's got to fit neatly. It's got to be decompressed from that, which is why we don't know it. This is why I think it's so fascinating that history has a built-in blur. You don't need the high-resolution photos of history because they're always super far away from the camera, right? So you can get away with some pretty cheap-ass images, and that's what our history is, because we're, I know that when I study the Mississippian culture, and obviously there's so much more to learn, but even if I knew everything that we knew, that's like 1.7% of it, like it's we don't know, which is kind of built into this fabric of it blurring back into history. So yeah, it's a compression algorithm. It's and it's almost better that we can fantasize what it's about, because when you think about what it was like back then, I think there were some epic moments. Please don't get me wrong. But I also want you to picture that there's probably a lot of not so epic moments. And a lot of those not so epic moments were fucking horrible moments. Like really horrible moments. Some of the things that happened to people, some of the physical ailments that occurred, even watching DeSoto's men after his victories, he came to Florida and really wanted to kick some ass and was expecting to. He thought for sure he'd be able to go find the gold in these Mississippian cultures, right? So he's digging his way through, and he's getting angrier and angrier the further inland he goes. And so he's reaching all the way up into around Natchez Trace, around these different regions of Alabama. In fact, Mobile is really this Mobile, this Indian name, this former city, basically. And he's reaching all the way up there just in the suck of the South, and he's just miserable. He's really disappointed, and he's taking it out on every chief because he thinks every chief is lying to him. Because he finds a chief and he's like, look, I won't kill you, but you got to show me who's got the gold, man. And so each of these chiefs were like, oh, you want to go west? Isn't those dudes over there? Those dudes over there, they got a shitload of gold, man. We ain't got no gold, but they got gold. And meanwhile, these guys couldn't even tell the difference between copper and gold. I just learned this yesterday. That
Wow.
what people could have thought of as being just the Indians lying because they didn't want you to have the gold, so they would tell you it's copper. That's a bullshit story. I'm telling you, that's not what it is.
It's wild.
If you consider how
wasn't-
similar those things are, also especially in North America, the way where you find copper, especially like around the Great Lakes and things like that, right? It's found in the same ways and in the same veins, and sometimes even in the same fabric of the earth, right? Folded in. And so it ends up being the same sort of, but also these guys saw it as the same. Like,
Was it as precious to them as gold?
I think it was all the same.
Yeah.
You know, I
So
think
if
it
they
was
can
all just the
distinguish,
same. And honestly, there was
moldable,
just a lot
malleable.
more copper, you know, there was just a lot more copper. So you just saw it more. So whether or not, I don't even think that necessarily, one thing I can tell you though, is that they did know what silver looked like. Those fuckers loved them some silver.
Now, so was silver more precious to them than both
Yes,
copper
I
and
think
gold?
if it wasn't, although it was more precious, I think for sure. However, I also think that maybe they only saw this as two different forms of gold. One is a copper gold, right? The other is silver. And these look different enough. They have a different enough spectrum to where it triggers different things, which probably is why they were so enamored by silver itself. So yeah, you if you wanted to trade, you couldn't just bring a silver coin. They were like, no, this is lame as fuck, man. So you would take the silver coin and you would remove like 80% of the silver from it, and then you'd beat the coin down and shape it like a half moon. And then you'd give it to them. And they'd be, oh, this is fucking valuable. They did not see the value in the coin. That was not tradable. It was as a decorative emblem. So if you think about it, it had to be unique, right? Like it had to express something different, which is what gave it value. It only had value when it became unique,
Beautiful.
right?
When it
Relief,
became beautiful.
Yeah. Yeah. When
Have
it
to see it in
became
relief.
something that was not there before. Until then, it's just a sliver of mud, I guess. You know, a sliver of something else. So yeah, you've got DeSoto just moving through, and he's taking the chiefs. He walks in and he just grabs the chief by the balls. And it destroys the town. The town falls apart. Completely falls apart, which tells you more about this model of how important it was to have an ego, and that until you had an ego, you needed a mound or a phallus or a tree or an omphalos or a church or something. You literally needed some sort of obelisk to rotate around. And the moment that you removed the chief, these guys were capable of great violence. These are cunning ass motherfucking dudes living in the wild. Excuse my French. But there was a time when you could destroy their entire psyche simply by removing their chief. And they didn't even necessarily even understand that. The chief would be the one that comes to talk to you. So it's not like they even understood this Achilles, right? Like they didn't even understand how vulnerable they were. But what's even more profound in my mind is that the same trick works on the Spanish, because the Spanish that were lost in battle or something got separated or whatever, the Spanish were terrified of trying to survive on their own and would actually enter into slavery, would beg for a tribe to allow them the privilege of becoming a slave.
I didn't know that part.
When I'm hearing this, it's blowing my mind because it's just all it's doing is reinforcing everything that we've been talking about what slavery really is. How in this way, Turtle Island actually had slavery. Slavery was a form of public charity. It was a social program. And so when these Spanish are marauded, they're in a desperate state, but so too are the local natives, that when you take this chief away, the people are not free, they're not liberated, they're fucked. They feel that they're fucked. Of course, the food source, which would be the most important thing that would keep these villages alive, you would think that they would just gather around that and be like, hey, you can't fuck with our corn. But that's not what would happen. The psychological structure was so fragile that it would blow apart. And this is what I think smallpox is.
Mm.
That was such a fascinating idea to introduce, because, well, just the fundamental point that I had never, we tend to project our psyche back in time and never imagined that the psyche was as different as it was.
Yeah.
And to understand that slavery, in that sense, we see it in the context of like you say, it's taken away my freedom, but the psyche that wouldn't even know what to do with itself without some force kind of leading the way. Absolutely.
That's right. Hey,
It
wasn't even
sort.
Nate's in the house,
like
guys.
labor-based slavery either. Like when
No, more than that.
De Luna went back after De Soto had already explored that area. When De Luna went back over by Texas, a lot of the tribes were using his people as healers.
Mm-hmm.
So it wasn't like they were just enslaving them as like an extra labor force. Or
That's
something.
such a good point.
Like they looked at them as healing, like they had some kind of special abilities because they didn't know where these people came from.
That's right.
Yeah.
Great to have you, Nate.
So they would put them under this type of servitude where they would give them food in exchange for their healing powers.
Yeah. Yeah.
It probably worked off of those native beliefs. If their belief was strong enough in these new healers that were coming out of the forest, then their healing powers probably worked on them.
Oh, of course.
Sure.
Oh, I bet.
Which tells you that the slaves, that even though we're calling them slaves, that they were getting something that they didn't have. From, in other words,
they were begging
the
for it. It was an opportunity.
Yeah. It's fascinating.
Yeah, I was looking at the Roman slave percentages of who did what, and it was profound to know how many of them were accountants. And then it hit me, it realized, wait a minute, this makes sense. The weakest among us are occupying white-collar jobs that offer the most security for the most amount of bureaucratic, I will swallow anything. And that would be the modern day plebe. It would be someone, if you looked at it like a social program, right? Like if you want to survive, you would need slavery. Yeah. What kind of slave do you want to be? Well, I'm good with an abacus. Do I want to be good with an abacus, or do I want to be good with a shovel? If you are a weakling, i.e., right, physically or mentally or whatever, what I'm trying to say is that it would make sense that some of the first slaves would be accountants. That would be the first thing they would do. It's like, oh, sir, the sun is so hot. I've been called to do some accounting. The TPS reports are the only thing that matters here. So yeah, it's everything is turning around when it comes historically, right? Like everything is not what it seems. Even the judgmental structure that I hear people give to, and how cruel they were back then, and because they were murdering people in the Old Testament. I'm like, what if you could compassionate a world where that fucking made sense? where you really are. You wake up and you're like, hey, Brad, look, I got to talk to you about something. Brad's like, what's that? It's like, Timothy over there. Dude, he's a fucking psycho. And you're like, I know. I saw what he did. Did you see what he did? I mean, I'm just saying this isn't necessarily out of the norm. I get that we want to pretend that we are so delicate and so, sophisticated and so moral, but I want you to picture where that is moral. I want you to picture a time where that actually is the higher move. The one that brings the most utility. You're looking at the village, and this is why banishment, it's so difficult for us to really penetrate just why banishment worked so well. Because you could really not function without it, without society. Go ahead, Deb.
It really works for me to think of it in the way that I just lost my train of thought. Go.
That's all right. Yeah. That train leaves the station for me all the time. I just got to go choo-choo, and we just go full steam ahead through it.
Yeah.
One thing I was thinking about, and this goes back when you were talking about the gold and silver and the copper, the thing that kind of struck me is like I just immediately thought of wiring, electricity. You got the copper and the ground wire, and I know they're not silver, but it just in a representative state of like that's how like electricity runs through the wires. It needs the two poles.
Yes. Yes.
Oh, that's exactly what I was thinking about was electricity and chakras. I really believe that probably most people, 99%, were living in the chakras below their waist. So there was food, shelter, and sex, and that was about it.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, if those things aren't met, you don't really have the calories for anything else, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, I think you're looking at like a sprout, a consciousness sprout, And you're only going to be so tall, which means you're only going to be emanating the lotus from like the Muladhara. So you move through your Muladhara, your Svadhisthana, Anahata, you're rising up, but your consciousness can only afford a certain level in the building, right? So it makes total sense. And one of those levels would be slavery, wouldn't it? One of those levels would be...
Certainly.
One of those levels would be rape and sexual intercourse are the same. Like that would be a binary kind of resolution, right? And this is why I think we are where we are now, where all the times where we think sex begins, even that is changing. Even that is being stretched because in a way, sex is sort of like a pre-PAG kind of response. Right? Like, do you follow what I mean? So when the periodictal gray gets over emotionally stimulated, it starts to secrete tears. Elephants secrete these from their temples, by the way, which is just fascinating.
Oh.
So an elephant cries from his temples in his head, which is just amazing.
Oh my!
So cool. Just as when you experience something emotional that's too much, you secrete that protein through your tears. So too do we secrete a different kind of tear, not to get too vulgar here, but we secrete a different kind of tear through a duct that allows us to do the same thing. We release the ecstasy that is too much for us. Do you follow what I mean?
That's interesting.
Yeah,
which means the concept of finding the Kundalini is actually the concept of finding consciousness, because the more consciousness you have, the higher the snake rises, my friends.
Overflowing the vessel.
This is really the purpose of epiphany. When you feel inspired, the lower mind thinks it's sex, doesn't it? But the higher mind goes, it's not necessarily sex. I'm just turned on. I'm turned on is what I am. But the turned on isn't a Muladhara turned on. It's something higher. And this is what seems to be the rising of consciousness is through this tantric consciousness, right? Because you're not pagging out. Let's just use that, right? You're not failing or pagging out or whatever. So,
yeah, then that's excuse me. The thing about the fact that we're using these terms, if like you said, if you went back then and we even told those people, "Hey, you're slaves," they wouldn't even understand it in the context that we do now. So now we have all these conceptions of what we think slavery is. And so when we look back and we try and conceptualize that relationship, it really doesn't match the psychological dynamic that we're painting onto it at all.
Yep. This is where the judgment and the concept of how we like to spill our guilt into the past or even in the future.
Oh, and that's another overflowing of emotion.
Yeah, because when I think about this, you everything that was hard, everything that we did to get here was hard as fuck. Like you and I could not do that. I don't think you and I could go back to the 14th century. It just has our psyche now and cut it. I just think that
No.
Agreed.
You know what I mean? The second
definitely like glorify it, fantasize about doing it.
Yeah.
Sounds like it'd be fun, but
yeah, like the day we get there, we'd be like, holy oh my fuck. And I think we would get sick.
yeah.
I think we would develop smallpox, something like that. Psychologically, we're breaking down the same way COVID broke people down. There's a new sun, right? It's a white sun and it's fucking loud as fuck and it's making people act horrible.
It is.
And until they can fix it or find a way to groove or find a way to ground, they're going to feel worse and everyone else is going to feel worse. And guess what's going to happen? This sounds so sick, y'all. Better turn this off because this is going to sound sick as fuck. There are going to be people that are living today as beyonders that are making Pied Piper decisions that are moral but burn our eyes for people like you and me to see. Pied Piper decisions necessary because they understand the greenhouse and how regulated consciousness works. So the entire concept of editing or moderating or creating a barrier, a secrecy, like not having a completely public organization is proof that you've developed a boundary. It's proof that you've developed an immune system. Whereas in the Mississippian times, everyone owned the building. Everyone owned the village, right? This was not like your building or my building. I swear to you guys, it didn't work that way.
Yeah.
We can argue about chiefs and king of the mounds, but I think this is exactly why they built it up on mounds, because physically it gave the chief an advantage because King of the Hill is the oldest evolution game in the world. So there's a natural order that comes from this, and it probably comes from the placebo or the ego of the chief.
Maybe they're looking at the mounds as containers for power and
Sure.
Yeah. Would have to be.
emblematic of the chief's power.
Yeah, it'd have to
Which
be.
is why when you take the chief out, the entire village doesn't, because it is such a communal aspect in that regard. And the chief just kind of represents the head of their psyche, the collective psyche at the time. So you've cut off the head of the psyche. All of a sudden, they're chickens running around with no head.
Yep.
Well, the leader, the patriarch, take me to your leader. You know, it's like, we don't have a leader now. Where's yours? We'll follow you.
Yeah, exactly.
You guys have a tall mound over there.
It's a real,
Might
it's
be
a better, I
the-
think it's a more true definition of leader, because it really does show you that it's not someone oppressing the village. It's the village saying, fuck man, we need a leader. we need someone in charge. We can't hold this together, basically, you know?
Almost the Malamu.
Yeah, exactly.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Which is why I think we're in an interesting time right now where some people are starting to get to the point now where growing beyond the need for a leader because of the self-growth. And that's, I think, what we're kind of watching in the world right now, where all the leaders seem, so corrupt and so just, because it is an active play out of the psyche of we're living in a time where some people are getting ready for that.
Yeah. Well, let's take it to another level, Brad. You and me are hanging out in Mound Town. And
that's happening in Mound Town, baby.
We're thinking about being a leader, and you and I have gotten smart enough, and we're like, dude, I don't want to be a leader. I mean, the leader's the first guy that rushes out to the Soto, right? Like, what did Moctezuma do? He literally was like, hey, do you want to touch your junk? Do you want to do something? Like, I'll do anything. I just want you to be happy. Like, this is what happened with Cortez. Was whatever you want to do
there's
to
going to
me.
be gold in San Francisco. Go that way.
Yeah. Here's my daughter, right? Like this is what a leader does. The leader's like, here, you want my daughter? Oh, you want my wife? Yeah, she's hot. Okay, yeah. Yeah, you can have her too. What else do you want? You want some corn? We got a buttload of corn. Yeah, gold. Yeah, you're gonna want to go over there. That dude's got a lot of gold. That fucker's got a lot of gold. So the only relics that are here are going to be emerald tablet relics. They're going to be the golden tablet relic. They're going to be the emerald tablets of Thoth. It's going to be a mystic relic. Why? Because the treasure has to be in the room. And if it's not gold, it's going to be magic. Right? Because if not, someone's going to have to pay for saying, hey, let's go get some gold. Let's go live in mosquito world for 3 fucking years and get malaria. And then when we finally find somebody who says he's got some gold, we finally find the gold. It turns out, by the way, this is a true story. It turns out that it was the gold from the ship that fucking sank that was from Spain. So all we've done is recovered like 1/78th of our gold. You know, and so you're feeling like an idiot, right? Which is why you're like, no, we're seeking the fountain of youth, or the, you know, we're the sacred virgin. And the, you know, meanwhile, manatees are swimming around Florida, you know, and they're like, we're not mermaids, we're fat water cows. And they're like, no, you're the most beautiful woman in the world. You're everything we've ever looked for. Come here, baby, you know. And it's more mind-blowing to me because meanwhile you have some of these most amazing geography in the South, and that they're all missing it because there's not gold there, right? Like they're missing. So how much did we miss because we weren't even willing to look at it? It was all about, you know, give me gold or tell me where to go next. Chasing Mound Builders
resolution at it.
Is in the chat. Man, I wish you'd join us, my friend. No pressure, but yeah, it's a
little pressure.
Oh yeah, a little pressure. I guess that was a little pressure. Thank you for correcting me. You're right. Thank you for correcting me. So,
but yeah, the idea that not seeing the forest for the trees, and that's still where we're present now. It's like, how much are we not seeing now just because it's an infinite evolution, I'd say, of consciousness, but we're just seeing things now that we're ready to see, and just imagine how much is still there that we're not seeing.
oh,
I think
for
we're
sure.
just over the tip of, it's possible to love everybody in the world.
Right.
We're just at that edge. Right?
Yeah. Well, there's always someone there to try and make that harder, you know,
Yeah.
and God bless them, you know, God bless you all out there trying to make it harder, you know.
But they make sure that you actually mean it. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Yeah, that's true. Yeah. That's the best vitriol of all. It really is. Yeah, for sure.
It seems like Florida has quite a special place, that region of Turtle Island, in regards to. Nate, I saw that you posted YouTube about Calusa, that tribe. I think they're called Calusa, and how they didn't actually grow maize, and how it was one of the only civilizations of that kind that thrived, even though they didn't grow maize. I
Now,
just
what
thought that was
their
really
staple?
cool.
Do you know what their
Fish.
staple was?
Fish.
Oh, okay.
Fish.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, a lot of shellfish too in that area.
They were really shellfish, weren't they? They were so shellfish. They would never grow maize.
But Florida just has such a reputation, you
Yeah.
know, as being such this
Oh, of
place
course.
where all this crazy stuff happens. But that being a part of Turtle Island, which I kind of associate with the tail.
Yep.
Yeah.
I think it's just fascinating to see how, you know, the Calusa and the Seminole who never did surrender during the Civil War, and just the toughness of that region, and the awkwardness and the unusualness.
Oh yeah.
And the
Okay.
fact that they didn't grow maize there for a long time,
Yeah.
I find
Yeah.
fascinating.
Well, you know, the whole
Even to the modern day with the whole trope of the crazy Florida man.
Yeah, exactly.
Exactly.
Yeah. Because the whole Gulf was Florida, you know? Like,
Yeah.
if you really want to think about it, the whole
Yeah, the
dangling
panhandle stretched all
participle
the
of
way
Turtle
over.
Island. Yeah, that was Florida, just a giant dangling participle, you know, just kind of hanging out there. And so it's been slowly pushed into the the saltiest parts, and then you got Disney World, right? There's like such a perfect epic, you know, of like, yeah,
It's kind of
exactly.
fascinating how like the maize evolved from like a tropical plant from Central America
Mm-hmm.
up to what we were able to grow in like Central North America
Yeah.
or Southern North America. And it seems like there was some of the same culture that had traveled up that way too. So I'm guessing that they probably like brought it with them.
Yeah. I think the cannibals that somebody, maybe it was Columbus, the cannibals that he was writing about, I actually think that this is Cortez, forgive me, were in fact probably from North South America, right? Sorry, that sounds horrible, but like the northern part of South America.
Right.
And that they came all the way from there with this tradition of and even that word, cannibal. So there's so many different crazy things happening. And if you even look to the south, it's probably the best candidate for what Aslan was, for where Atlantis was, for the birth of this idea of these Aztec people having to wander. It's not a boat wandering. They're wandering through the wilderness. And believe it or not, they're carrying an ark full of bones. So you've got the exact same concept, and this is why I think that mound is more important than we realize. That's their battery. That's their psychic battery.
Yeah.
So if you're a moving people, you're going to adopt a relic that you can pick up. If you're a non-moving people, you're going to develop a relic that's built into the ground. I think that as consciousness grew, just as a plant becomes more conscious and it develops kneecaps, and that plant develops kneecaps that are so well it's able to sprout and move itself by developing feet, and that you and I are just that plant. So too is the psyche something that requires a mound, a place where bones are buried that can be seen from all directions, because it's a constant wireless connection, right? You drop the Wi-Fi signal if the mound is gone. And you better grow up quick, because Watiko's coming and you're going to have to become more portable. You're going to have to learn how to worship on the go, right? And so you're going to need talismans, you're going to need crosses, you're going to need something else to solve this model. So, it's time to get busy. This makes so much sense to me. And it's the only thing that would encourage you to keep going. Say again, Nate, sorry.
So that's pretty impressive if they did travel up from South America by land, because they would have had to go through the Darien Gap, which is like, even to this day, people are like not able to travel.
Yeah.
There's not even a road that goes through there.
Oh, you're so right. Even today. Yeah, so totally. I would imagine that they probably, basically.
Yeah.
It's a little bit south of there, but basically it's just awful. And they probably were some like water. I'm sure that they probably did it by water then too. At least from there, and then a lot of this went into Cuba, and then all the Caribbean islands.
Right from the Yucatan to Florida.
Yeah, basically. So you have that. You already have this idea of an island culture, of even Atlantis. Even there's a lot of different ways that this could fit, and then on top of that, you've got Cholula, the world's biggest mound. Is a mound we don't even talk about.
Yeah.
It's a mound most people don't even know it's there.
We don't talk about that elephant in the room.
Shh.
And what is it?
Cholulu. Chololu.
I don't know that one.
Yeah, it's the largest mound geographically speaking. The most earth, the most the most stuff. And it is freaking huge. And it's probably the source of, because there's a preservation flood myth in Mesoamerica too. And it points to an architect who builds a tower of saving, and this place that he builds is probably Cholulu. I'm probably pronouncing Cholulu wrong, forgive me, but yeah, it's in Mexico, and it's freaking huge. It's a giant city that's basically just full of dirt. It's been covered up. Most of it's been covered up. The same way mounds are layered on top of each other. And as I've put forward before, we don't actually know what's underneath the pyramid. It's probably going to be like a mound structure. I say this now because just recently this idea has come out in like mainstream, that they're starting to think maybe what we think is the pyramid being built is the pyramid being pyramided. That it was pyramided, right? It was turned into a surface, and it was probably done to keep fuckers off of that. I mean, let's, you know what I mean? Like, if you just think about how we develop architecture for a purpose, you know, this would be a good way to get people off your lawn, you know, is just don't have a lawn. Just, you know, make it like
Make
that.
it really steep.
Yeah,
Really
basically.
hard to climb.
Yeah, because you're not really living in the same kind of society as you used to have before. You don't really have that same kind of, you know, quest that you had before. The mounds of like Cholulu or Etowah or even Cahokia, these are much more, I'm going to use the word egalitarian, but just sort of picture like a skyscrapers in cities, you know. There's not necessarily one. I mean, certainly one is taller, don't get me wrong, but I've never seen a layout that really just centralizes. I mean, definitely Teotihuacan, but we're not talking about mound builders now. We're talking about a culture that left all this giant airport. You can look at that whole thing as just a giant airport, like a Denver airport that all of a sudden natives moved into. And even the Aztecs told you that, you know, like, look, we got here. There's a fucking conveyor belt. There's a food court. There's, you know, this whole place is here. And they're like, what do you call that? It's like, this is where people come to become gods. It's like, really? And they're like, yeah, that's what the name means.
Of
right?
the giants. Is this anything about the giants? There were 6-fingered, red-haired giants buried in some of the mounds.
Oh, totally. Yeah. Lots of stuff like that.
Interesting.
Well, James and I went to the Cahokia Mounds in Illinois,
Yeah,
and that
we
was
did.
just an amazing experience. Just to imagine that amount of earth being moved from one place to the next. I was like, whoa, we climbed up that thing.
Yeah,
We saw the
Cholula.
A lot of the
sundial.
times it was done in a really short period of time too.
Really?
Like
Wow.
they've actually done like studies on the dirt where they can tell like how long the dirt was exposed or whatever. And they were saying a lot of these mounds were built in like 3 months.
Yeah.
With just like a massive amount of people doing a bunch of work, but they get it done really fast and they're able to like date the dirt somehow.
Yeah.
Like how long it was exposed for.
Oh, fantastic.
Yeah,
Think
Poverty
about the
Point.
collective energy that would take in the idea to get that many people onto an idea motivated that quickly and the calories to spend to get this task done.
You could even see how easy it would spread if you just think about it like a Burning Man, you know?
Yeah.
They're like, guys, Poverty Point, to read. We're going to frickin' meet at Poverty Point. We're going to frickin' have a barnstormer, man. We're going to do all kinds of stuff, man. You going to sacrifice somebody? We might. We might do that.
You think that the blessings associated with it too? I think you would think like, oh, I'm being blessed, or this is my contribution. You know, you become part of it.
Yeah. Yeah.
And that could be inspiration enough to be part of a bigger thing than you.
This is the only movement of this is the economic movement, right? So festivals would be the very first thing. Look, like this would be the very first economy if you think about it. And what do people do at festivals? They do weird shit. Like, yeah, we're going to build a giant hill. It's like, that sounds fun as fuck, you know? It's like, yeah, let's fucking do that, man. What else is there going to do, you know? Let's fucking do that.
Jump off of it.
Yeah. There'll be corn there. There's going to be corn there. There's going to be corn there, man. There's a lot of corn.
Dude, we're going to go through a maze and we're going to eat maize at the end.
It's going to be amazing. It's like,
There you go.
Reggie, we're going to sacrifice you if you say that joke one more time, okay? Seriously, man. It's going to happen. So yeah, it makes sense that these things would get built. It makes sense that this would be something that is not coerced at all. And if you think about it psychologically, it's making everyone in the village stronger psychologically. They're able to tap in.
Giving them a purpose. And isn't that what so many people plug into? It's like if you give them a purpose that they believe in and connect to in that regard, you don't need, brutal motivation tactics, right?
Yeah. Well, this is how we look at history, right? Because it's so retarded how we look at it that way. That's why I think slavery is such a cipher for this. Like, I'm not saying I've got it all figured out, but I'm saying if you look at it through this cipher, a lot of history starts to make sense, when before I was always like, what do you mean 1 million Gauls followed Caesar because he kicked their ass? Like, how are you going to convince seriously? You're not going to tell me that he chained them all? Yeah, he did, man. He had them all by the rope. All 1 million of them. Yeah. Dude, this is Caesar. And I'm
He
just
was
like,
pulling them by their balls.
yeah, it's like, this doesn't make sense to me at all. Like, that would be so expensive to drag someone against their will 300 miles. Imagine doing that with 1 million people. Like, it doesn't sound right to me. Meanwhile, DeSoto, most of the people in his party were slaves. Like, they were like local indigenous Turtle Island slaves. So he was completely surrounded by them because they were like, what else am I going to do? You killed my father. Very hungry, or whatever they did. It was such a different way of understanding this,
Are you going to give me shoes?
Yeah, exactly. Exactly. That's the perfect way of saying it. Hey, Ashley's correcting us. Thank goodness. Thank you so much, Ashley. She's brought the correctness in the room. It's Cholula, and that is right. I'm always afraid that I'm going to say Chalupa, and it's going to sound really disrespectful. So I try and stay away from it. But then I think about Chorzel and there's a lot of dangers here in getting that right. So yeah, I appreciate it. This is the largest structure. This is the largest structure in America. This is the largest man-made purposeful structure, and no one knows about it. And I think it really is just this, where all of these origin stories come from, is this conceptual understanding of, we will build a mound. And what are you going to do now? Now that the festival's over, what do you want to do? You want to come back. And if you're going to come back, you're going to build the Burning Man even taller, aren't you? You're going to say the 2-story tall Burning Man was pretty amazing. But this year, just you wait. And it becomes the driving force. So it makes a lot of sense that this thing builds itself. The civilization builds itself because it gets everybody so high. It gives them something to focus on, to associate into, a role, a position. All this ego building placebo is just pouring out. Why don't we take a little breather, and we'll be right back. I really appreciate you guys joining us here tonight on Dojo Earth Radio. And we're going to take a little time to wet the whistle and do what we can. Thank you so much for being here on Dojo Earth Radio. See you in 3 minutes. welcome back. JoJo the Radio is filmed for a live cockpit. We are back in the hot seat. Welcome back, everyone.
We're back. Hello.
Hello,
Hey
Renee.
there. Hello,
Hello.
audience. We're talking about different parts of Turtle Island right as we were on break.
That's right. We are. What a
Renee was
beautiful-
saying when she was going to go down to Maine, and of course, from where I'm at in Atlanta, I'm like, "You're going down to Maine?"
Down
I
Maine.
mean,
Going across to the
Of
east.
course, directions are just relevant, right?
yeah, just keep going straight. You'll get there.
Mm,
It's a nice circle. Let's go around.
that's right. Yeah, you know,
Oh my
there's all
gosh,
kinds
go
of
ahead.
things happening in this place. One of them is acorn eaters wandering around. These people that that have no taste buds, and they steal children from Indian villages, and they wander through the night. And some of them are living the night they're so afraid of people that they develop moon eyes, and they can't see during the day. And some have 6 fingers, some have 6 toes, some have both sets of body parts. And this isn't odd. This is normal. This is like just what it's like around here. And half of them are saying we don't know who made this mound. Others halves are too ashamed to admit that they didn't do it. And you've got all these stories that are wrapped on top of lies, that are wrapped on top of fables. But then when you start to discern it, you see things like Unatanku. You see these rattlesnake antler spirits coming up. You see these mounds that form everywhere. You see an intelligence that's built into a creature that keeps just popping up like a plant, like some sort of 4-leaf clover. And all that mystery is here. This giant island is just pulsing.
Mhm.
And the moment we get here, as much as they were terrified of us, we are terrified of it, which is why we erased it, which is why we insisted it never existed. It was too much for us to comprehend or to contemplate that this was a living womb of natural organic virginity. And this truly is the meaning of mixed coatl. It truly is the idea of the Rust Belt, this red and white striped creature that's supposed to raise innocent, lamb-like veal minds that are purposely here just to fund everything else, to make everything else happen. It's such a beautiful story. I've never felt so much more in touch with the perfection of politics, of propaganda, of flavoring, of McDonald's, of our education system, of every single thing that works, because I'm able to compassionate not only where consciousness was, but where it is now. Not where we think it is, but where it really is. It's such a different way of looking at the earth. I've never felt so natural, if that makes sense.
Definitely does. Of course, I don't like that you're telling me that I have to like politics and education and all this stuff. I feel weird.
Yeah, these are the challenges, right? It really is. These are the challenges. And no, I this is why it's such an important job to pollinate the world. This is not a philosophy of everything's perfect, so you shouldn't touch it. This is a philosophy of everything's perfect, so you should be yourself. These are different things, right? Because being yourself would be, I'm tired of you fuckers doing that, or I want this, or I want this to change, or I want to leave this, or I want to build a Burning Man that's bigger than last year. So yeah, it's perfect, but you have to understand what the definition of perfect is,
Right? Yeah.
It's a different way of looking at it.
So it's so interesting to sit there and finally realize that what we initially want to think of as perfection is actually, it's like distilled water. There's nothing there. It's like the
nice.
perfection in that regard is the absence of anything, and to realize that the presence of everything is actually the perfection in its whole gestalt.
I love it. You could see that the same way through just as you might think on a lower vibration that if you don't have sex, then you didn't connect in any way. Just
Right.
as you realize that the connection is this harmonic all the way up and all the way down. And yeah, it's It's such a crazy world. Watching us all insist that it's not really does make it crazy.
It does.
It's funny how you have to see it reflexively, almost like when you're in it or going through the stages of it, you're feeling the emotions and you're feeling what we call the traumas and the pains in the moment. It feels so wrong. But after you've gone through it and you look back, you just see how right it is because of where you're at now.
Yeah.
And then when you get even up to a more symbolic level, you can see that everything is exactly necessary to make the next thing happen.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Yep.
That it all does require steps. And I think a lot of people like to think that, and this is, I think, even most of us do whenever we're faced with something, it's like, how do I get to the end already and not realize that you don't ever get to that place without going through the steps, which is, again, why I've found I've had an easier time compassionating the world in general, because I recognize not only the steps I had to go through, but even when I look at other people and they're going through, let's say, the steps that I'm recognizing, and this is a mistake I made for so long, of trying to think when I sort of saw something or become aware of something, that I wanted to force that awareness on somebody else, and not realizing that awareness cannot be forced in that way. It has to be earned, if you will. It has to be processed in this way. And that's what makes the perfection of it. The reason that you can't mess this up.
Yeah. Well said.
And yeah, you can't see something until you can see it until you're high enough up on the pyramid.
On the
We're talking
mound.
about pyramid.
And you have to have the foundation.
Yeah.
If you do not have the foundation, you can pretend you see it. And that's what a lot of people, I think, do when they imagine, oh, and they sound all, I get this. But you can tell when someone gets what they're saying and when they've experienced what they're
Yeah.
saying.
Exactly.
It's got to be balanced out on all the corners for sure.
Absolutely.
We have Mound Builder on the airship.
Oh, hi, Philip.
Hello. Good to see you materialized on deck.
Great to have you on
Having you
board.
here.
Good to see everybody. I'm glad I get to join in one time. Can you hear me all right?
Yeah, you sound great.
Absolutely.
Can hear you.
Sure
Okay.
can. You've done so much exploration in your region in regards to mounds. I follow you on Instagram, and you have covered some territory.
Oh, thank you. Yeah, I kind of have this obsession with the Mississippian culture in general, but it's kind of, yeah, for sure. I like to get out to as many as I can, but there's always more to see. And
Yeah.
you guys have been talking a lot about Florida recently, and that's one place. I don't like to vacation there per se, but like if I ever do, it'll be strictly to see the mounds for sure. So
Yeah.
Now you bite your tongue as an Atlantan. We always go to Florida for vacation and we love it.
oh, people here do too. It's,
I'm
yeah,
teasing.
for sure. Yeah.
There's actually something interesting about the mounds in Florida. You might have a comment on this, which is that they used to be there. Florida used to have mountains.
Yeah.
And those mountains
Really?
were mounds. Guys, they were mounds. Yeah.
Massive.
Massive, right? Like so big
Yeah.
that people thought they were mountains.
Well, I go through, I got this encyclopedia that Greg Little produced.
Oh, I love that guy. Yeah.
Yeah, he's got such a great insight on them, but like there's so many sites there that like the Florida section is just like it's just dense with all this stuff. And a lot of it, like you said, it's like pretty much everywhere we've destroyed it. Even when you go to Cahokia, like there's like basically a highway right there.
Yeah.
So
They've
But-
also even rebuilt the mounds. So it's kind of worse.
oh yeah, the
They've actu-
reconstructions are
Yeah.
crazy.
Yeah, they've
Um,
actually like, let's go buy some fill dirt. We're going to make a mound. And,
Right.
yeah.
And I think like of the 100 or so mounds that are in Cahokia, there's like probably 70% of them are reconstructions, or something like that. If you walk up that main stretch where you see like from Monk's Mound all the way to 72, every
Yep.
plaque just about says they're reconstructions. But I think
It's still
they
cool.
did.
but
So very cool.
yeah,
Yeah.
it's still important. I'm not trying to down anyone. You should definitely go see it, but I'm just saying they're not only are they so gone, this is the only way you could do it. Like this is, and honestly, this is what I would do. I would say, yeah, we gotta put the mountain back, quick, you know.
For sure.
Yeah.
Did anyone see we took that down? No.
Yeah.
And they've been using them forever. Like they have monks that lived up there, of course. And then like in my city, Evansville, Indiana, we have a big site called Angel Site, which was sort of like they were definitely in trade with Cahokia, and we have reconstructions too. And it's so interesting when you see like at my site, they have a conical mound on the southeast corner of the main mound, what they call Mound A. And so did they on Monk's Mound. It's now been deconstructed.
Yep.
But they on the southeast corner, they had that conical mound. And I'm so fascinated with that Mississippian culture for that reason. You know, it was obvious sun worship, but it was more than that. And it's everything about it fascinates me, from that to the way that like around 1200 AD, they all started putting up palisade walls. Even though they like a lot of these places, maybe there was travel between them, but it almost seems strange that a lot of these would have started going up at the same time.
Yeah, almost like the consciousness developed around the idea, maybe, you know?
Yeah,
that we're
exactly.
a civilization now, and it's time for us to have walls. Yeah, it's
same way an idea becomes fertile at a certain time, and it's not necessarily one culture, one person's idea. It's fertile in the environment.
Yeah, bilipid layer is the key to a nucleus, right? And
absolutely,
that's
Well, in Cahokia, they had that wooden wood henge that followed the sun, and they moved that around, right, James? They actually changed where the location over time to really center with the sun.
Yeah, they moved it like a few feet. Like, imagine how much work that is to be like, hey, dudes, we got to move these poles. Well, how far you want to move them? Like, just like 18 inches is like, are you fucking serious, Chief? Yeah, man.
Imagine if you built a whole mound and then you're like, that mound needs to go 6 inches.
Oh, no,
down.
no, it happened. Not only that, it happened like 12 times, right, Renee? Like at least 12 times it happened.
It was wood hedge. It was a dial. Yeah.
And it moves.
Yeah.
And what I love is they show you how it moved. But yet trying to explain, and it's not even that, because literally the reason why you want to move is because you want people to know that the sun rises at your door. And so you're like, look, man, my house got bigger, so we got to move. Sorry, but the house is bigger. We got to move the thing. And people and the natives are just like, you this fucking idiot. I cannot believe that we're doing this again. You know, I can't believe
Next time, can we put it on wheels, please?
Exactly.
That's what makes it so magic. Yeah. That's what makes it so magical.
But guys,
that's why it's such a portal.
The fact that those holes are still there, the fact that we know where those holes were, the fact that we even have the wood that those holes were in is just, that is truly stunning, you know. So good on us.
And you could stand on Monk's Mound and look out at it. And oddly enough, you see the St. Louis Arch there as well in that view. As you're looking for Woodhenge from the mound, it's like, well, look at there. There's the St. Louis Arch.
Yeah. Yeah.
Did they know what they were doing?
That view. Yeah.
This is technology.
And that was like 900 to 1100, current era. So that was a long time ago, you guys. They were setting that up. I mean, I just love considering that.
Yeah, it's also
just the
like
intention.
It's also like nothing if you consider that just 1,000 years. Like, think how much this place has changed in 1,000 years.
Right.
Like I can't even fathom that. Like, that's amazing. And then to think back that a long time ago, the Mississippi Basin was basically the ocean. And it was a shallow ocean, so you've had all these shark's teeth, all these amazing things that are planted along the ground in this space. And yeah, it's just so, thinking about Turtle Island as an entity and all the things that it's seen is just off the chain. The Appalachian Mountains are the oldest mountains in the world. This is the oldest exposed part of it. That's why they're so smooth.
Yeah, there's trilobites everywhere too.
Yep. Indian money is what we would call them as kid.
Yeah.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
We found arrowheads, but no shark teeth.
Yep. Indian money would be like shark teeth, troglodytes, or just
Yeah, I used
arrowheads,
to find
things like
tons
that.
of shark teeth in Washington, North Carolina, right in like a creek. But it was like way in. It was like over an hour inland from the ocean.
Oh wow.
Nice.
So it was cool to be able to be pulling shark teeth out of there.
Yeah.
Jeez.
Yeah.
No kidding.
Those were land sharks, guys.
Man,
Chief land shark. I love it. Yeah.
Chief land shark.
Candygram.
You know how long it took him to bury all those?
Andy Graham.
Oh. Yeah, so if
I
you
was
think
just
about the
thinking about
mounds no, go ahead, Nate.
The significance of like when you build a mound and you're the highest elevation in the area, then you're the last place that the sun touches when
Yeah.
it's setting, and the first place
First.
that it touches
Exactly.
in the morning
Yeah.
when it
Yeah.
rises. So
I mean, that's how
I'm sure there
serious
was
it
tons of
is.
significance to that when they were
Yeah.
worshiping the sun.
Yep.
That I get the most sunlight out of a day than anybody else.
That's a biggie. Yeah.
Well, that's why I'm always so jealous of trees. I'm like, you guys are so tall. Look at you bragging. You're all let have to wait. I'm still
Lording it over
waiting.
all.
So
Wow.
yeah, you're lording it up, and I can see how I want to get the earliest rise because that's the first dose of the new dawn.
Yeah.
You know, so I would
Yeah.
see like run to the mountain to get the rise, and how that's available now to us here.
Man,
You know,
that's tripping me
it's
out.
going outside.
Because it's tripping me out because that would mean that when the sun comes up, because you built a mound, you're also putting half your population in darkness. Like
wow,
all of
yeah.
your population is now forced to be in darkness half the time.
Yeah, they're in your shadow.
The
Yeah.
shadow.
Yeah, which
Oh.
is wow. There's meanwhile
That's
you're
symbolic.
yeah, that's got to be symbolic. Yeah,
Yeah.
and that shadow is a pump. It's a piston. I mean, you could look at it as like impression, or you could look at it like a piston. You know, that you
Right.
cool, hot, cool, hot, cool, hot. Then you're moving your village. Next thing you know, you're arguing over, do we sacrifice to global warming or do we sacrifice to terrorism? Right? Because you've
You're
divided.
running your engine.
Yeah, you've divided the
'Cause you
town in
see a lot
half.
of those Mayan temples, they're like poking up out of the trees in the jungle there.
Yeah.
So like that really was one of the last things that the sun touched, or the first things that
Yeah.
it touched.
Yeah, this makes a lot of sense. That even the bicameral legislative, the two-party system, would naturally be built out of a mound, wouldn't it? That you would create.
Yeah.
We are the morning dwellers. Those fucks are punished
Yeah.
in the afternoon with darkness. Or and all we have to do is go to bed early. But we are the morning dwellers. And we are the night keepers. We are the day man. That you could have these two different groups that are just identify with the fact of which side of the mound they're on.
And that was reflected too in their class system. With the Mississippians, for example, like there was very much a class system. I think you guys touched on it, about there being like giants per se.
Uh-huh.
Yes.
But what's interesting is like they have this lore, right? And I find it fascinating, and I know I'm not supposed to do this because historians hate it, but like I look at sort of the progression of that Siberian common ancestor that produced the Scythian culture, and they started making those mounds and all the way out towards what am I thinking of? Gamla Uppsala, or I don't know if I'm saying that right. I think it's Sweden, but it's very similar stories. They had this these proto-Scythian people that had legends of like a class system where the people in charge were just larger. They were, referred to them as giants. So
Yeah.
I always find that weird.
Uppsala, where they would go to sacrifice.
Exactly. They say like Loki is buried there or something like that. But it's so weird how like that mirrors, the sort of thing that was happening over here.
Yeah.
Of course.
So,
The turtle's got to balance out.
excuse me. So, Philip, do you know anything about this mythology that you were talking about, the giants, and I am also referring to some that were found here allegedly,
Yeah.
but they found all right. There's a story about the Afghan War, and some soldiers encountered a giant red-haired man come out of a cave.
Yeah.
Um,
Kandahar.
yeah, yeah, the Kandahar giant, right? So
Absolutely.
that sounded to me exactly like the descriptions of the giants that are in the mounds with their 6 fingers, and supposedly there's stories of red-haired people that were here before the native people.
Wow.
Yeah. I mean, that's a pretty common sort of thing. And there's a lot of like basis for it. I mean, you don't have to go to like any sort of conspiracy website to check that out. I mean, people talk about it all the time. It's in the archives with the Smithsonian that it's on record, like official record. And I think like the legends get a little out there as far as like the 12 to 30 foot tall,
Oh, right.
giants, but like at the same time, it's clear and it's admitted as such that there are a lot of legitimate cases where they were between 7 and 8 feet tall giants that
Yeah.
were,
Hmm.
it's even in the primary sources from like I wish I could remember his name, Robert. He's kind of like the Southeastern Ceremonial Complex, kind of the OG there, but he talks. I read his book and I was reading about like the primary sources and how they would capture these people who they consider giants, and they would, they'd tell them like, no, we're not giants at all. The people that rule us are giants,
Hmm.
and so to them, it just, you know,
Interesting.
and that to me, the primary sources are worth more than even what they found from the Smithsonian because um, these are people that have no reason to lie. I mean, these are these this is people that are taken to Hispaniola from their tribe or whatever with promises of who knows what.
Yeah. I think you're
And I can
looking
see
it
how
up.
that's not an exaggeration that to them, if they're saying they're, it could get exaggerated to 30 feet, like a fish story, right? The fish
Sure.
was this big, but if
Yeah.
you're smaller, if you're 4 feet and you look at someone 9 feet, they might look 16 feet. You know what I'm saying? Just by comparison, it's not
Well,
exaggeration necessarily.
yeah. If you had a different Achilles heel, if you didn't have an Achilles tendon, your feet would be a lot wider. Your legs would
Yeah.
be a lot stockier. Giant also really is just the best translation we have to what was really better understood as like wild, feral humanoid.
That was the description of the red-haired people
Yeah.
that
It's,
was given, right?
yeah. And this is
Yeah.
why I think they're typically alone, because the Neanderthal is the social tumor. Who we are is the social tumor. We decided to go social. So we ran. This is why we're sun worshipers, by the way, Nate, is because we were the ones that actually were able to thrive in the sun because we were socially oriented. These dudes were hiding in caves. They were hiding in the crevices of ridges. They were eating acorns because that was the safest thing to eat. They were forest dwellers, and they were terrifying because they did not have a social structure. They had no ability to be controlled in a social way. So they would come in and eat your children because it didn't bother them. These two clues, the fact that they ate acorns and the fact that they ate children, I think proves to you that you're looking at a psyche that did not have that kind of development of shame
Right.
or self or whatever else, which is why they were terrifying. They were terrifying because they were beastly.
Right.
And the beastly is really the closest word to the translation of giant. They definitely were taller. I'm just trying to get you guys to picture that it really is just a different creature, entirely that you don't necessarily feel comfortable with, like at a fast food line. This is you're going to be like, who the fuck is this dude?
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
what begs the question to me, like what's the progression then? Because like it's pretty common in like as far as like the belief of like the before the Mississippians and even into the Adena culture, like as far back as that they existed. But there seemed to be a progression where like the largest were in charge, and these are your chiefs.
Yeah.
They were established as divine in some way. So, but then like as you get into like the more modern tribes, because I don't think those people ever went away. I think it just sort of drifted into these separate tribes, but they all seem to talk about these wild people, like you were mentioning, who were cannibals, and they had, almost every. It seems like almost every tribe has like some lore about how they're battling um, these
Double
things.
row of teeth.
Yep.
That too, right?
Yeah, you're always
Yeah.
battling something like that. You're absolutely right. And these guys are actually smart. They're cunning as fuck.
Yeah.
Just recently, a giant rendering farm was found, a Neanderthal rendering farm. Not
Whoa.
us, them. Like 20,000 samples of bones or something. Like just like this massive place where either creatures were lured or they were dragged and they were rendered for fat.
Oh wow!
Yeah, I
And
saw that.
Yeah, and the
Oh.
fat, you saw that too. Good, because
Yeah, I
it was
did.
like so
I was
like,
like,
holy
what?
shit. So being dumb.
Pretty sophisticated.
Yeah. See, this is why it's key. I think being social doesn't mean that you're smart. Being
No.
social means that you're more bird-like than you are reptile-like, right? Like you just are socially oriented is all. So you're still looking at intelligent people. You're still looking at cunningness, but it's such a different creature. It's really hard to imagine. It's sort of like how we would think that a killer whale is dumb, maybe, right? When in fact it's super intelligent. We just really have a hard time kind of even accepting that. This is why I think those stories of the patriarch are stories of people that had all the magic, had all the intelligence. These are the ones that taught the new crop how to do things, which shows you that there's an intelligence there. But think about it. If you are not socially oriented, you better be fucking intelligent. Like you better know how to live off the land, right?
Yeah.
This is why they had so much, I think, more knowledge in that way, because they had to. You're a self-contained unit, and your self-contained unit decides, hey, if we want to go to the next level, we have to become social. We have to learn how to lie. We have to develop a stronger sense of cunningness and deceit and camouflage in order to outperform. And half of us did, and half of us didn't. Actually, to be fair, it's more like eight different strains of let me try this way occurred. And what happened is right now you're looking at, we're going to admit two of them, right? And we're going to insist that one of them's extinct because there's no such thing as fucking giants, even though NBA's on tonight. Right?
Yeah.
So
Look, there was Andre the Giant. You can tell me otherwise, but I'm not going to believe you.
So this ties back to something a little conspiracy, but the description of the red-haired, double-rowed, six-fingered giants is exactly the same description as the offspring of the Nephilim.
yeah.
I just think that's wild. It's kind of a distinct description: double row of teeth, red hair. Anyway.
Yeah.
I think Nephilim is the patriarchal. I think that's the same thing.
Oh, that makes sense. Oh,
Yeah, so Nephilim are probably her. I mean, I'm not saying you guys, forgive me for saying this is what, but it's like I think the Nephilim is probably the hermaphroditic patriarch. This is the Jacob,
that's what I
the
thought, too.
Isaac. Yeah, this is why they're considered more Chad-like, more perfect in the sense of more powerful, larger, living longer. This is the hermaphrodite. So we're remembering the vessel we came from, and that vessel comes with all that knowledge, and this is self-contained. But then in order for it to work, we develop into this social, or this is a whole new experiment. It could be that we are rendering out our best case for the best apocalypse ever. And this time we're trying a more social recipe.
Interesting.
than we've ever done before. There's really no way of knowing, right? Until I see, I think that underneath the ice, not stored by humans, there's information. And this information is almost more organically recorded automatically. So underneath the ice, there's going to be this record, and we're going to be able to find when we were here before. I think it's so much more likely that we would have to have been here before than not. And
Alaska.
I think once you tap into that, then our memory, just like once you have a mound, a city's formed. Once you have the ice, the memory's formed. The crystalline ability to compassionate Lemuria comes to the forefront, and now you can see everything. You can see everything because you don't think anything's broken, which means there's no cracks in the glass, which means you can see right through. You can see all the way through. So all the intelligence is there. It's inside the lion, thank you, ML. It's inside all the creatures that we see wandering around. The information's right there. It's in the vertebrae, isn't it? It's in the code. It's in the structural DNA of what caused this parasite to turn into a zebra. This is everything, right? Like this says all of your social record would be decompressed simply by winding any animal back to the era that you want to look at, and you would be able to compassionate the rest of the picture. Did you know this is how a hologram works? That every voxel inside a hologram has the entire image? Did you know that?
Every little tiny bit of it.
Yeah. The complete picture is inside of every, we'll call it a pixel.
I just, it blows my mind.
Yeah. So the compression is, we're just learning compression for the very first time in our living lives, aren't we? Like we truly
Seeds.
are really understanding. Yeah. Seeds would be the best, perfect.
Seeds. I mean, we are seeds.
Oh, right. Containers for massive amounts of life force.
Yeah, exactly. So much information packed in this little tiny bump.
There's spires. There's spires roaming around.
Yeah. Yeah, good stuff.
Oh, wow.
That is the amazing thing about the fact that that much information is contained in almost the smallest form it can be, and then when it's unleashed, what it becomes, it's almost baffles the mind to think that that much information could have been contained in something that small.
Yeah. This is why it might be safe to consider that if you really want to know what the ISS is, like really want to know why we have an ISS, 200 miles floating above the air, that's what we're told. I think that you're looking at, this is what a mound is.
Oh, Space Mound, yeah.
It's giving us something to believe in. It doesn't need to be true or false. It just has to be taller than anything else that anyone else could do. If you can make something taller than anyone else could do, you are king. And the only way that you could truly make something taller than anyone else could make is by lying. Which means that if you wanted to build a mound culture today, if you wanted to see what the mound culture looks like, if it existed today, it would look like a mound of lies. And those lies would have to be built by the entire culture that agrees this is going to be the biggest mound, which means that what we believe to be the biggest mound is the biggest mound because no one else would be able to make something bigger. So a mound is lies. A mound is the biggest government fantasy that can afford to be built by a population, be sustained, not collapse, survive, and still divide everybody into two parts.
That's what I was just going to say. What happens when there's two ideas?
Yeah. Yeah. It's
Well, again, it's the two poles. It's just going back to the idea that to make the electricity flow, you're going to have two
That's right.
wires, two substrates to make the wire actually carry the electricity.
Mm-hmm.
But if we called it just polarities instead of opposites, they're necessary to each other. I think that's
Absolutely.
That's right.
how we need to.
Well, I mean, think about it. If you could hate terrorism, but I couldn't hate global warming, or vice versa, who would you be fighting against?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Who would be the adversary that you could? Where could you put that anger? Right.
And more importantly, how can you tap into an engine unless you have a rhythm? Which means everyone would need to hate or love the same thing in a cyclical way. And so, like an election. And then, so this is why it's so important. Yeah, this is why it's important that everyone believes in elections and that they should come to the realization of what it is naturally. If we were to rush in there, guys, and say, you guys, it's all fake. You got to believe it's all fake. We would destroy the fabric of America.
Yes.
We would halt the entire reality. And Quetzalcoatl would come and say, I'm not going to eat you anymore. You're not worthy of being my time berry. I'm not, you have broken the sacred rules of the mountain, of the two towers, of the two reed, right? It's such a beautiful system we have. And it's just so much larger and scarier than we're willing to see. That's all.
It's only perfect when we look at it from the largest sense, though, or from the smallest sense. Like either a seed is perfect or the universe is perfect. And the in-between things, we're just in between.
Yeah.
Think about how a heart works, though. If a heart only pumped blood out, right?
Right.
Then there's no being. It's like it's the actual rhythm of the pump out in, and it's just reflected everywhere in this reality.
You're right. Speaking of hearts, my friends, it's that time.
It is.
I want to thank you so much for writing. Renee, you want to say goodbye?
Oh gosh, thanks for joining us, everyone. Lovely having everyone on board and everyone in the audience taking this flight with us on a Saturday night. Thanks
Thank you so
for
much,
joining us.
guys.
And you can all say goodbye. Play a song out.
Yep, playing right now.
Bye-bye, everybody.
Guys, have a great night.
Bye, guys. Thanks for letting me.
Bye, Dave. Bye, Philip. Love you.
Thanks for coming.
Bye.
You said it yourself, this will not work if we are miles apart. Wake up alone, your fans are closed. Reach for something that you're not. Oh, you need to calm down, honey. You need to calm down, honey. You need to calm down, honey. You need to calm down, 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 I know how you feel up in there. You'll get there, I know you will. I know that you don't like your hair, but I think it's beautiful. We just need to calm down, honey. We need to calm down, honey. We need to calm down, honey. We need to calm down, down, down. We just need to calm down, honey. We need to calm down, honey.
you so much for joining